Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my sketchbook tour. If you haven't seen part 1, feel free to go check that one out and then come back and watch part 2. So before I started this sketchbook, I hadn't really drew for a very long time, probably a couple of years. Maybe I drew a little bit in between that, but I hadn't really sat down and seriously started to draw or do any type of art for a few years. So this was me trying to reteach myself how to draw and learn techniques and things about art that I never really knew or researched before, and tried to intentionally learn how to do. So I started this sketchbook at the end of 2025, so about December 2025, and then I finished it in January 2026. Since then I've started another sketchbook, so my next video or my next sketchbook tour will be for that sketchbook. Don't mind my lumpy coffee, just how I like it, nice and lumpy. Anyway. Okay, so let's get into it. The first page. On the first page, I have a study of the Loomis method, I think it's called. And it's basically how to divide up the face so that the features are in proportion and the head is in proportion. Before I struggled with my proportions when it came to faces, but now using this method, I find it a lot easier to draw faces and to draw faces from different angles. I recommend if you haven't looked into it or tried it yourself, to give it a go, and you'll see an improvement with your faces. Oh, it's the Loomis method. Yeah, but it's really helpful with proportions, the size of the head on the paper that you're using as well to fill the page. So yeah, very helpful and very good to know. So that's the first page done. The next page is me just trying to put what I learned into practice, and in case I ever wanted to look back while I was drawing a face, it would be easy for me to know how to set up the face. And then underneath I just did like a study of noses. I was just going to go through each feature of the face and just draw them again so I remembered how. As I was drawing these noses, I was thinking, okay, I remember how to draw and I can draw. And the next page, we have a study of eyes. I struggle with making eyes look realistic for some reason. I think it's the eyelashes or something about the eyes that I struggle to get them to look like actual eyes. I think it's the corners of the eyes as well that I find hard. But these, again, I did a study on how to draw eyes. I looked on Pinterest and just typed in how to draw eyes, and then I used like their methods, different methods, to see which one I liked the most. I think these eyes came out better than what I usually do. It's also hard to try and make the eyes look wet or like shiny with pencil anyway. When I'm doing a painting or a drawing, I can just add like white gel pen and you can see it. But yeah, practice makes perfect. One day I'll have the eyes looking snatched. On the next page, we have a study of lips. These lips, I didn't really go into a lot of detail with them, but I do like how they look, just like bold, outlined lips. I had a lot of fun drawing these lips. I do have fun drawing lips. Something about lips, I think lips show a lot of expression. So I do find I find drawing pouty lips easier than drawing like thinner lips. Something about these lips are giving me like 70 vibes. Is it 70 or the 60s? Like Twiggy era style. Yeah, I don't know, just wanted to mention that. So I had fun doing that. On to the next page, we have a study of skulls. I've never done this before, but apparently it's a good way to learn the anatomy of a face so that when you're drawing a face, you understand how light would hit a face better. So I done a skull study. It was quite fun. It came out a lot better than I thought they would, seeing as I've never really drew a skull before. And when you're doing studies, obviously it's good to draw the skulls from different angles, obviously, so you can learn the face from different angles. Also, if you find something hard to draw, that means you should draw it more. Going on to the next page, we have a study of figure drawings. I struggle with my proportions when it comes to human bodies. Something about them can be off, so usually I make the torso way too long. Just learning how to use proportions has helped me a lot in my drawings. Before, I was never sure how long I should do an arm or a leg or how long the torso should be, but now I've done some research, I know what I'm doing, kind of. On the next page, I did a study of the figure studies actually moving in it's kind of like positions as if they were dancing. And then I did one as a male and one as a female because your proportions as a male or a female will be slightly different. I had a lot of fun doing this and I impressed myself with how they came out. I think the figures look very expressive and you can see the movement. They still look a bit stiff, but not too bad. Oh, and I did lines around the body to show that the body's 3D. The next one was a drawing that I was really proud of. It's a drawing of Cassie. I don't know if you can see it properly because the light is really glaring off of it, but I was so proud of this one. This took me a couple of hours. I struggle with hair, but I think in this one the hair came out not too bad for me anyway. Sketching in pencil is the easiest for me. I do think her face was a little bit narrow now that I'm looking back at it, but I think just looking at it you can tell who it is, so I'm happy with how it came out. And her shading in the picture wasn't like dramatic shading, so I had to try and capture the subtleness of the shading. But yeah, if my art is this good now, according to myself, it's only up from here, I guess. And the next one, I did a study of hair because as I was saying, I really struggle with drawing hair. So I just looked on Pinterest and chose a couple of hairstyles that I thought were nice and I would want to use in the future. And then I just drew them to the best that I could, really. I don't think they came out too bad. I will definitely reference some of these hairstyles in future drawings. The next one is a challenge that I did for myself. It was a 10-minute sketching challenge, and it was just because I find that I put way too much details into my drawings, so I wanted to get a bit looser and not focus so much on refining every detail. I want to not be so tight with my drawings. I really want to loosen up with the way I draw. I love drawing animals, so drawing animals, it comes quite easy for me. That's why I decided to do animals for the 10-minute challenge, because I know how they're supposed to look most of the time, and I just enjoy drawing them, so being quicker with them, it was easier than if I drew like a whole human body. It was definitely a fun little challenge. I enjoyed it. I think my favourite on the page was the panda, and then the deer. The bird reminds me of the bird from Up. And the hippo, I like the hippo, it's cute. And the bush baby, I don't know why I did that. The next page. This page is just a page I did following a Sam Does Art tutorial on YouTube. The tutorial was about body proportions, and to start with basic lines and then basic shapes and then fleshing out the shapes, and you get a in proportion human body, which is very helpful. And it's helpful because you think about the muscles underneath the skin and how the skin looks on top of the muscles and the bones, so that your drawings look more believable. So if you want to improve your art, I definitely recommend Sam Does Art. His tutorials are really helpful, and I learned a lot from watching him, and he's part of the reason that I wanted to start doing art again. So check out his channel if you want good helpful tips when it comes to drawing. I would also recommend Aaron Blaze. I think his channel's called Creature Art Teacher. He's a really good art teacher on YouTube as well, and watching his channel has improved my art a lot recently too. Next, I did a simple study of muscles and what muscles look like under the skin and how muscles work, because it's always good to know how something works so you know how to draw it and make it more believable. On the next page is just the lower half of the body, so just the legs and glutes. After that, I did a quick study of light and shadow, how light and shadow works. I've done all of this before, I just did it again to refresh my memory, and it's always good to go back over the basics. So this page helped me with the next page. The sketch that I did on the next page is actually my favourite portrait sketch that I've done so far. I love this one. Again, I don't know if you can see it properly because of the light and the glare from the graphite, but I was so happy with the way this one turned out. I like the shading on it, and the lines around the shading just makes it look stylized. I did struggle with the bun on top of her head, but it doesn't look too bad. I love the proportions of the face. I think they came out really well. It still looks like her in the side profile of her face, so I'm happy about that. I think she's cute, and I like how the curl on the front of her head came up. And here's a closer look so you can see it a little bit better. Obviously it's not perfect, but for the time being I'm happy with how that came out. And the next page is just some poses that I did of Tyler, the singer, because I think she has some interesting poses and I wanted to practice poses. I'm not really good at drawing people standing up and posing, so it was a challenge, but the only way I'm gonna get good is if I keep trying. Even if the drawing isn't good in the end, as long as I did it, I can learn from it. But we're friends though. If you know, you know. Anyway, on to the next page. And these are some 10-minute sketches I did, some 10-minute portraits. The clue's in the name. I chose a portrait that I wanted to draw and I thought would be easy for me to draw, and I gave myself 10 minutes to finish the drawing, which it's kind of hard to know how quickly to draw when you have 10 minutes. You don't want to go too fast, you don't want to go too slow, but it is really good for just practicing quickly and to be able to draw fast. Here is a quick look, just a little zoom in. They're not too bad. Next page. Oh, I like this page. This is a page of my favourite cartoons. I was trying to look at different styles and character design. So I drew my favourite cartoons and then I wrote what stood out to me about each cartoon and the style of the cartoon, the way it was drawn. I had a lot of fun doing this page. Who doesn't like to draw their favourite childhood cartoons? And this page is really showing my age, but if you know, you know. I love Dee Dee. I love how chaotic she is and just carefree, and her brother's so serious, bless him. But Dexter's Lab is definitely one of my top 5. Next page, some more cartoons, some more of my favourite cartoons. Samurai Jack and Kim Possible. 2 baddies if you ask me. Samurai Jack, he's the GOAT. I did the same thing on that page. And the next page, on this page I tried to do the same style I did before with my favourite drawing, and I don't think it came out as good this time. I'm not sure why. Maybe I was overthinking it and putting a lot of pressure on myself for it to look as good as the last one. This one, for some reason, I think she really looks like Kim Kardashian, and I was not drawing Kim Kardashian, so I don't know how that happened. I definitely did the face on the left way too wide. I think that's the problem I have with it, but the one on the right I really like. And on the next page this is a character that I tried to design, or I came up with. She's cool. I was going for kind of like a comic book sort of look, and I wanted to make her look really angular, just as like a creative style. I made like a story for her as well, and I planned on drawing her full body, but I never ended up getting around to it. Yeah, she's just a quick OC that I made up. Nothing too special. I just wanted to see if I could make up a character. If you're interested in her story, you can pause and read if you want to. Basically, she can travel through cyberspace, so she can go through the internet and do some cool stuff. There's the empty space from where I was going to put her, the rest of her. On the next page I have some more 10-minute sketches that I did. I was watching a girl on YouTube and she did a video where she tried to draw different animals and she had 10 minutes to draw different animals, and I wanted to do the same thing. So I drew some of the animals that she was drawing, but I didn't want to do all the ones that she did, so I changed some of them and did the ones that I wanted to do. I love that elephant. I love how the elephant came out, but I struggled the most with the giraffe for some reason. I think because the giraffe has such a weird proportion to its body, and for only having 10 minutes I feel like the drawings came out as good as they would if I spent some more time on them. I will definitely be doing challenges like this more often. I think it's really helpful with your art and just speeding up and being more loose with your drawings. Here's a closer look at the sketches, and on to the next page. Here's my weird looking horse. I don't know what is, maybe the front legs look a little bit too short. They look a lot shorter than the back legs. Something is off about the horse and I don't really like it much. Next page, this is a mountain lion. Like I was saying in my previous sketchbook tour, when I do animals, I don't really know how to do the fur, so the picture ends up looking a bit unrealistic because the fur looks like skin instead. But I'm working on improving that. This year I'm really trying to improve my art, so yeah. The next page is a lioness that I drew. I used alcohol markers for the first time and I didn't really know how to use them. I hated the picture when I first did it, but now I look at it, it's growing on me. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's in my sketchbook and I need to remind myself that not everything I do in my sketchbook needs to be perfect. The next page is just a study I did of some lions. I didn't really care about how they looked, it was more about how the proportions and the body silhouettes were, the shapes of the lions. I was more interested in capturing the vibe of what was going on in the pack with the lions and just not trying to draw too stiff. The next page, this is my swatch page of my colour markers. I don't know why I did it right in the middle of my sketchbook, wasn't really a good idea. Next page is a page of colour theory. It's just a simple colour theory page. I've studied colour theory before, so this was just a quick reminder. Not that I'm any good at colour theory, and I definitely need to study it a lot more. I'm terrible with my colours and lighting and shadow, so that's something I'm going to work on more in the future. It's good to know how colour theory works because it will make your art a lot more interesting and you can create a lot of themes in your pictures just from colour. The next page, this is just a little drawing from a book that I have. It's about the movie Into the Spider-Verse, and this was a picture of Miles Morales that was in the book, and I wanted to draw it because I love the art style of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's really unique. I like how it's basically a comic book, but it's a moving comic book. They were really good at making it look like a comic book and feel like a comic book. It's really inspiring. Well, to me, it's really inspiring because I love the style. The next page, this is from a course from Aaron Blaze about perspective. This is really helpful. I had no clue about perspective before, so doing that course has taught me a lot of useful tips and I understand how perspective works more now. This page is a painting that I copied from Sam Yang's book. I copied it because I like the way he did the lighting and I'm really interested in learning more about lighting. When I did it, I hated how it was coming out because I did it with colour pencils. So I ripped it out of my sketchbook, but then I thought I can't just rip everything out of my sketchbook that I don't like, so I ended up sticking it back in at the end of the sketchbook. Once I finished it, I started to like it a lot more, so now I'm not too upset about it being in my sketchbook. So that's the end of my sketchbook tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my art. If you did enjoy my art, consider liking the video. And maybe if you like my art style or how I do art, subscribe if you want to. But yeah, that's the end of the sketchbook tour. I have another sketchbook that I'm working on now. I'm about halfway through it. I'll probably be done with it in maybe like 2 or 3 months. But I'm enjoying working in this sketchbook that I have now, and I can't wait to do my next sketchbook tour. This year, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can and improve my art as much as I can. So I hope to do that on YouTube with all of you. We can learn new things and draw together, learn to draw together. I'm excited to find my community of people on YouTube. We can start a community here, an art community, and teach each other. I have a lot I still need to learn, and I'm sure there's people out there who could learn from me or anyone else who is watching or wants to be a part of the community. But anyway, that's the end of the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!